Hello students. In the last class we learned about the earth's rotation. How does the rotation takes place and how does the sunrise and sunset takes place on the earth with different activities. So now let's continue with the other part of the chapter. We will move to the slides. Now the first we will learn about what is a year. Now move the globe along the circle on the table. As you do this, keep rotating the globe and ensure that the axis does not change its orientation. It means that the axis is not moving. The globe is steady. That means it's in one place. So you have to move the globe along the circle slowly. And while it is moving, while you're moving it along the circle, see that it is also rotating around its axis. You have to see that the globe is rotating around its axis, as you can see in the picture. What will happen is that the globe will come back to its original place on the circle. That is, it will come back from where it started. This is how the earth revolves around the sun, even as it rotates around itself. So this tells us that while the earth is rotating, that is turning around itself, it is also moving around the sun. So there are two movements taking place, okay, going on together. That is, the earth is rotating around itself as well as revolving around the sun. So this gives rise to one whole year. We'll move to the next slide. Now, we just saw the earth while rotating around itself also moves around the sun. So, the period of time or the time it takes for the earth to complete one revolution around the sun, that is one turn around the sun, it is called 1 year. We learned just now in the before slide. There are 365 days and 6 hours in a year. It means that when the earth goes around the sun, it will take 365 days plus 6 hours in a full year. We move to the next slide. That is a leap year. Now, in the Gregorian calendar, now what do you mean by Gregorian calendar? A calendar that is used all over the world. This calendar which we use. That is the calendar that we use in our daily life, means in our day-to-day life. The calendar beginning with January, February, that calendar is called the Gregorian calendar. Now, in the Gregorian calendar, the year is taken to have 365 days. How many days? 365 days. Now, we just learned that when the earth revolves around the sun, it is 1 year and the revolution takes 365 days and 6 hours. For this purpose of calculation, we do not take the 6 hours. We don't take that 6 hours. Means that it comes 6 hours less every year. That makes 24 hours or 1 day. Now, in every 4 years means that 6 hours, if we count for every year in 4 years, it will become 24 hours. And we know that 24 hours is equal to 1 day. So we are actually counting 1 day less. So to make up for the lost 1 day, the month of February, we are learning about the leap year, right? The month of February in the Gregorian calendar has an extra day every fourth year. Okay, every fourth year it has an extra day. Not every year, but once in a 4 years, because once in a 4 years we have lost 1 day. So to make up or to bring back that 1 day, we add 1 day to the month of February. Now you all know, no? If a leap year comes after 4 years, which month has an extra day? February. It has 29 days. So to make up to bring back that 1 day, we add 1 day to the month of February. So that year is called as the leap year. Now this year which is going on, it is called a leap year, right? The month of February which went had 29 days. So a leap year will have 366 days in total instead of 365 days. Every year we take 365 days, but in a leap year we add one more day, and February has 29 days instead of 28 days. As you can see in the picture, okay, it has one day extra. Let's move to the next slide. Now, the next we are going to learn about the phases of the moon. Now, we see half of the moon's surface which faces the earth. That is, from the earth, we see only one side of the moon. We cannot see the complete moon. Okay, we see only one side of the moon always. Now, the moon has no light of its own. You know that. Okay, we can see the moon because of the sunlight that falls on it. Now, this happens why? Because the moon is called as the satellite. Okay, so therefore, it does not have light of its own. It gets the light from the sun. The sun gives light to the moon. That is how we are able to see the moon. On a full moon night, we see the entire side of the moon that faces the earth. Okay. Now we learn that only one part of the moon we can see always. We can't see the other part of the moon. Now out of this full part on the full moon night, we can see the whole part of this moon. On a new moon night, we cannot see any part of it. That is, the moon is still there. Okay, it is still there, but we are not able to see it. So that night is called the new moon night. Okay, let's move to the next. From the full moon to the new moon, the illuminated part of the moon. Illuminated means the lighted part of the moon which we can see. The part of the moon which we can see, okay? From the earth becomes smaller and smaller. Whereas from the new moon to the full moon, it again grows bigger and bigger. Now remember children that the moon is not growing smaller or bigger, but what part of the moon we can see, the lit part, means which part we can see, the lighted part of the moon we can see, that becomes smaller and smaller or bigger and bigger. So these different shapes we see of the moon in the sky, it is called the phases of the moon. Let's move to the next. Next, we are going to learn about waxing and waning moon. Now, it takes 14 or 15 days from new moon to full moon. This is the fortnight of the waxing moon. Now, what do you mean by fortnight? Fortnight means 2 weeks or 14 days. So, 2 weeks are equal to 14 days. So, for the moon, it takes 14 to 15 days from new moon to full moon. So when it changes its shape from new moon to full moon, that period of 14 to 15 days is called the waxing moon. Whereas from the full moon appears smaller and smaller, and after 14 to 15 days it is again new moon again. So this period, that is the 14 to 15 days, is another fortnight, means another 14 days, and that fortnight is called the waning moon. Let's move to the next slide. Thus, the period from one moon to the next moon is 28 to 30 days. Now, how to 28 to 30 days? Both waxing and waning moon days are plused over here. We just learned that the waxing moon takes 14 to 15 days and the waning moon takes 14 to 15 days. So, together it becomes 28 to 30 days. So, this whole period is called the lunar month, and every day of the lunar month is called a tithi. Let's move next. Now let's understand this once again. We will revise it once again. Now from the new moon to the full moon, it takes 15 days. And this period is called the waxing moon. It is also called as Shukla Paksha in India. And from the full moon to the new moon, it takes 15 days. And this period is called the waning moon, or it is called as Krishna Paksha in India. Now together, that is the fourth night of the Waxing moon and the fortnight of the waning moon together is called as the lunar month.